Hey guys, what's up? So in today's video, we're going over the Season 5 best controller settings for Modern Warfare 3. So without any further ado, let's jump into it. Okay, now for your button layout, I would highly recommend having this on tactical. Basically what that does is it just switches your melee from your right stick here to your B button and switches your slide and dive movement from the B button to the right stick. So that way when you're wanting to slide or dive, you're not having to jump all the way from your trigger to the B button. That way it's all right here. Now bumper ping, the flipping of the triggers and the bumpers, the stick preset, and the controller vibration, I just leave those all on off. Really, I don't really see a huge thing on that one right there. But yeah, so I just leave these three right here, from bumper ping all the way down to controller vibration. I just leave those off. Now there's the dead zone inputs here. I have the test stick dead zone on off. I have the left stick min at 1. I have the left stick max at, let me set this down here to 40 here. I don't know why that got changed. I also have it at my right stick min at 5, the right stick max at 99, and then I have both the left and right trigger set to 0. Now, switching over to aiming here, you're aiming vertical and horizontal sensitivity here. That's kind of personal preference. I like mine at 8. It's the highest I like to go with mine, but it's personal preference as to how you want to go. So if you want to go with like 6, if you want to go all the way up to like 13, I don't know who the fuck plays at 13, but if you want to go all the way up to 13, you can most certainly do that. Even go all the way up to 20, but you know, like it says, that's for you insane fucks that want to put it at like fucking 20. But yeah, so it's personal preference on the horizontal stick sensitivity and the vertical stick sensitivity. So if you are, don't feel like you have to put yours at 8 like mine are, if you aren't comfortable at playing like that, it's honestly just personal preference at that, at this point, right? But if you are, say, if you've been playing at your sensitivity and you still feel like you're ass, right, or you're like, something's off and you're not like getting the input you want, I would recommend, maybe going like, if you feel like it's too sluggish, definitely crank it up, right? If you feel like it's too for lack of a better word, insane, right, crank it back down. Play like 5 to 10 matches on that setting, and if it still feels off to you, then adjust it even further, right? And you basically kind of want to get it down to where it doesn't feel unnatural to you, right? Because you always want to make sure your sensitivity is in a spot where it feels natural to you. But don't be changing it every game, because then you're not going to get a feel for it or get really an accurate test as to what might be working, what might not. So that's why I say like do like 5 to 10 games with each sensitivity that you put on, so that you can kind of get a feel for it. But if your sensitivity is where you like it, don't change it. Now, just similar with the vertical and horizontal stick drift sensitivity, don't really overthink this. With the ADS sensitivity multiplier, I like to have this at 0.9. I think that's what a lot of people like to have it as, 0.9. But I think that's also like the default setting too. But yeah, so realistically, this is kind of falls into the similar category as the vertical and horizontal. It's kind of personal preference, right? If you really want to get an accurate test as to where you like to have yours at, I would definitely recommend to go into a private game if you have the full game, obviously, because this came out with Season 5. This came out on Game Pass. So if you have Game Pass Ultimate or you have the full game, go into private match and test out with some bots for like 20 minutes a day to really get a feel for where you like to have your ADS sensitivity multiplier at. But again, don't really overthink it. Most people have theirs at 0.9. If 0.9 works for you, great. If not, similar to the vertical and horizontal, just kind of spend some time playing around with it a little bit, but don't get in this like constant loop of every game you gotta like make some tweaks, right? Just 5 to 10 games or like 20 minutes in a private match against some bots. Kind of play around with it a little bit, and once you get it to where it feels natural to you or where you like it, keep it there. Now, both the sensitivity multiplier and the vertical aim access, don't touch these. Don't give a fuck about these. These really don't matter. So moving on. Now, for the tactical stance sensitivity, don't fucking touch this. There's really no point in touching that at all. But for the aim response curve type, I would highly recommend putting this on dynamic. If you don't know what it does, over here on the side, It's going to say like for standard, that's ideal for new players. Slowly starting movement that speeds up over time with the aiming rate. Power curve map from the aim stick to the aim rate. Linear is ideal for players who have mastered the tweaking of the aim settings. The aiming stick maps directly to the aiming rate. And then dynamic is the ideal for more experienced players. Fast starting movement that slows down to the aiming rate. Reverse S curve mapping. Basically, dynamic is it pretty much does a fast starting movement to wherever your target is, and then as your crosshairs get closer to that target, that's when it begins to kind of just slow down as you start to get closer. Yeah, I highly recommend putting this on dynamic. Now, basically, the ADS sense for the focus and the ADS sense for the transition timing and for the custom sensitivity per zoom, these should really be set at default here. Like this one should be set at 1.0, instant and off. I would just leave these the same. Like I would just leave these at whatever the default is, assuming it's the 1 point instant and off. Right? If it's set like this, leave it there. Don't mess with it. Moving on to the aim assist. You want your target aim assist to be on. Now, for the aim assist type, I would highly recommend doing like Black Ops. However, if you're pretty much just going in with sniping, like if it's all you do is you use a sniper, focusing is really, really good with a sniper. But if you are just someone that uses like a wide variety of weapons, whether it's like an assault rifle, SMG, shotgun, I would basically kind of either use the default if you're more comfortable with that aiming assist type, or the Black Ops one. I preferably use Black Ops. That's what I like the most. So that's what I recommend in this video is the Black Ops one. But again, if you feel more comfortable on default and that one works for you, great, leave it on default. If not, go to Black Ops. And then for the third person ADS correction type, I would just leave this on assist. Oh, and also pro tip, if you do the for the target aim assist, if you go into a private match here and you have this turned off and you spend like say 10 minutes with that and then you flip it back on, you'll notice that your aiming is a bit better, and you're also, if you're one of those people that have issues with centering, your centering will be much better as well. So if you want to get better at centering, that's one good pro tip to do. So the switching over to the gameplay here for the movement behaviors, automatic sprint, I have mine set to off because that's just how I like it. However, if you are playing multiplayer, right, I would have it on automatic sprint. If you are a Warzone only player, I would highly recommend doing the automatic tactical sprint. I've heard that really helps in Warzone because the sprint to fire speed doesn't matter as much in Warzone like it does in multiplayer. But yeah, so from what I've heard, automatic tactical sprint is really, really good for Warzone, for all you Warzone only players. This setting right here will be really, really good for you. Now, if you have your automatic sprint on, then you want to make sure the slide maintains sprint setting turned on. You are not going to want to have this on off. So if you have automatic sprint turned on for your automatic sprint, you want to have this slide maintain sprint turned on as well. But if you're like me and you play with it with the automatic sprint setting turned off, then this setting really doesn't apply to you. Okay, now going down the list here, the sprint, tactical sprint behavior, auto move forward, tactical sprint behavior, grounded mantle, and the airborne mantle, and the mantle / hang. I would just leave all of these as off. The tactical sprint behavior, set that as single tap sprint, and the sprint tactical sprint behavior, just leave that on toggle. Basically, they should all just be on the default setting. So whatever, if this is your default setting, just leave it here. Don't mess with these. So there is a so with this here you can do now with the slide / dive behavior, you can either have it set to tap to slide, meaning that if you say tap your crouch button, you will go into a slide. If you hold it, you'll go into a dive. Same thing alternatively, if you have it set to tap to dive, if you tap it, you'll dive. If you hold it, you'll slide. You can have it set to slide only if you don't want to do with the dives. If you don't want to do slides, you can have it set to dive only, and the hybrid kind of does a mixture of both, tapping only to slide and tapping while holding the sprint to activate the dive. Most people, a few people actually kind of run it on the hybrid mode. I've never really have it on there. I mostly just have it really on the slide. I don't really like the dive at all. Mostly I feel like it gets me killed more than not. But yeah, so this one right here is kind of personal Personal preference, again, I recommend having this on slide only unless you are good with the hybrid setting, or you want to give it a try. But yeah, if you're really good with the hybrid, put it on hybrid. If you're not, put it on slide only. But yeah, that's what I recommend. Okay, now for the plunging underwater, I would just leave that on free. The parachute automatic behavior, I would leave that on off. I would have the sprinting door bash, I'd leave that on. I would leave the ledge climb behavior on mantle only. I would leave the aim down sight behavior on hold, the change zoom activation on the sprint / toggle or tactical sprint and focus. I would leave the focus behavior on hold, but that only really happens if you have the melee on there. The equipment behavior, I'd also have that on hold. The weapon mount activation, I would just have this on ADS plus melee. Weapon mount exit delay, I'd have that on off. Tactical stance activation, I would have that on ADS plus down button. And then the tactical stance behavior, I'd have that on toggle. Okay, so now the interact / reload behavior, I would honestly have this on prioritize intact or interact. Basically what this does is it allows you to tap to reload and interact, tap to interact, or hold to reload when they are available simultaneously. I think this is really, really good for both multiplayer and Warzone. And if you're also in multiplayer, this is a really good setting, because if you're in a hectic situation, like say you're playing a game of domination or hardpoint, your gun's running out of ammo, and you got people pushing you from left, right, center, picking up a weapon is going to be a hell of a lot faster than trying to reload, which is why if you have it on prioritize interact, you'll pick up that weapon a hell of a lot faster than you will if you were trying to reload your own weapon. Now the armor plate behavior, I just hit that on apply all. ADS stick swap, I just leave it on off. And then the backpack controls, you can either leave that on D-pad, or you can either leave that on D-pad or the sticks, or if you have like a Xbox Series Elite 2 controller with the buttons, with the paddles over here, or the Pro controllers, then you'll have another setting that'll apply here where it says directional buttons, and you can map them over here. But since I don't have that, I just like to leave mine on the D-pad. Now don't worry about this setting because this one should be locked. The depleted ammo weapon switch, I would just leave this on. The quick C4 detonation, I would just leave this on grouped. The manual fire behavior, just leave this on press. And the akimbo behavior, leave this on independent. Now the vehicle camera recenter, I would just leave this on off. The camera initial position, just leave that on free look. And the lean out activity, I'll leave that on melee. All right, now the ping wheel delay, just leave that on off. The double tap danger ping delay, just leave that on off. And the wheels behavior, just put that on hold. Now I would have the master game volume over here and I would have this set to 80. Now if you bring this down over here, you can, like especially if you're like a content creator or streamer, definitely want to have the gameplay music turned down so that way you can hear everything. The dialogue, I would honestly have this set to like 50, so that way you're not missing out on audio cues because your character is talking. Effects, I'd have this on 100. Cinematic music, again, I'd have this turned off. And war tracks volume, I just leave this at 100. Now voice chat volume, you can either leave this at 50 or you can crank it up. I just like to leave mine at 50. Now for voice chat, you can either have this on or off depending on if you want to talk to other people or you don't want to talk to people. You can have your game chat voice channel thing set to all lobby. Last words voice chat, set that on. Proximity chat on. And voice chat output device, I would just put that on your headset, or if you're on PC, then just leave it on your default communications device. Now I'd also highly recommend, if you are on PC, I would recommend having the microphone setting, and it's a setting called microphone mode, and it'll allow you to actually hit that on push to talk. Highly recommend that, so your mic can always be on, but if you're not wanting to talk, like holding down a button to talk to anybody, then you're not having to worry about you talking and someone accidentally hear, So if you're on PC, again, use the push to talk functionality. If you're not on PC, then that setting doesn't matter to you. Now open mic sensitivity, I would just leave this at 70. Mute yourself when connecting to a channel, just leave that on off. Microphone level, you can mess with this, but anywhere from like 70 to 100, either one. And then the test microphone, just leave that off. Subtitles, I just leave this on default, along with the size and the background opacity. Really important here. So mono audio, just leave that off. Reduce tetanus or tendinitis sound, leave that on off. War tracks as a passenger, just leave that on. Juggernaut music, if you want to hear it, you can leave it on or you can turn it off, personal preference. Now the hit marker, sound effects, I just leave this on Modern Warfare. I feel like that's like kind of like the best one to have it on. And that's it for the audio tab here. Now these next settings are going to be really important here. Now the important one here is going to be the color customization here. I have mine on custom, so I have me on yellow, I have my team on blue, anybody in my party, I either have this on green, or if some other people like to just have it the same color as the team. I personally like to separate my regular randoms to my party. Now the enemy, I would highly recommend putting this on like a color other than red. I like to use the color purple. That's kind of what I like to use, or maybe this is like magenta. I don't know. I like to use a color on purple. That's personally what I like. I feel like I have easier access to seeing where enemies are. It's also a bit better when my screen's all red because I'm injured. Helps me to see the enemy dots very clearly on the map. No issues. Yeah, highly recommend setting this to like purple. Now neutral flag, I would just leave this on white. Contested, I would just leave this on yellow. Now for the color filter settings, this is also going to be very important. I would have this on filter 2. Filter 2 is kind of like the best one. The color filter target, I'd have this on both, and I'd have both world color intensity and interface color intensity set to 100. And yeah, so that's it for the color customizations. For the HUD, just make sure it's stretching out across your monitor here, making sure it's filling up the borders of your monitor. The minimap square shape, don't play this on round because you'll lose some map or some map information. Always have it on squared, so as you can see right over here, let me make sure my face cam's not blocking it here. Okay, let me move the face cam down here. So as you can see, like on the circle, you're losing some pieces of information that you have on the squared. So I would definitely use this on squared, not circle. Although if you've been playing the Modern Warfare games since Modern Warfare 2019, that dog shit game, you should know by now to have that on squared. But if you haven't, and say you just started playing back up again with Modern Warfare 3, have this on squared. Now I'd have map rotation set to on. I would have horizontal compass set to off. This really, if you're playing multiplayer, the horizontal compass is just a useless thing of information. This really is only really usable and gives you the most information when you're in Warzone. On multiplayer, there's really just no point in that. The mini-map kind of does the best in giving you information on multiplayer than the compass does. So I would just leave the horizontal compass on off. Crosshairs here, I would just leave this on static. Now with the crosshairs, you can either have it on static or you can have it on. I just prefer on. Now hit marker visuals, you can leave that on. Damage based hit markers, you can leave that on. Player names, you can either leave this at full, abbreviated, or icon only. Kind of just player's choice here. I kind of like actually to leave mine at abbreviated. You want the in-game text chat on. You want the vehicle HUD prompts to fade after 10 seconds. Squad health and stamina, just leave this on. Now, the telemetry, if you are on PC, you get a little extra setting. So that's where you could set your FPS counter, your server latency, packet loss, graphic card, temperature, your graphic card time, your graphic card clock, your VRAM usage, your processor time, and your clock speed. Really that's kind of personal preference. When I'm on PC, I like to only have the FPS counter, server latency, and packet loss on. Those are really like the only three I like to have, so the top of my screen is not cluttered with mess. If you are on console here, you could just have your server latency and packet loss on, so that way you always know what your ping is while you're in the game, and you will also know if you are having some weird issues where randomly you're getting like these weird like kind of jitters. If you have your packet burst on, you can see if you're having any kind of packet loss. So if you're on console, these would be the two best settings to have on. If you're on PC, these two settings to have on, plus the FPS counter. Now for the menu settings here, you want to have gameplay tips on off. Tool tips, you want to have this also on off, and menu prompts, you want to have this on controller. All right, and that's gonna do it for today's video here. If you guys enjoyed this controller setting for Modern Warfare 3, make sure to smash the like button. If you guys are new to the channel, consider subscribing so that you guys can stay up to date when I post more Call of Duty and Xdefiant videos, and when I post the Black Ops 6 beta when that comes out in August. And I'll see you guys all in the next one.
Ting tang, walla walla bang bang, ooh ee, ooh ah ah, ting tang, walla walla bang.